current state of wine communication, how they're telling the story to consumers? Can it be improved? Is it great? How can we get that message out in a better way?
Yeah, unfortunately the state of technology usage and communication in this age of social media among wineries, no matter where you are in the globe, is pretty dismal. I like to say that wineries are somewhere between 6 and 12 years behind the rest of the world in terms of utilizing social media and understanding how to engage with consumers. For a long time, as you well know, the world of wine was simply you make it, hang up your shingle and people show up. And a lot of part of the job of selling wine was done by distributors and those who took your wine and brought it to market. But in this day and age, especially with the distributor consolidation in the United States, which is certainly being mirrored to a certain extent around the world, wineries have to start building relationships with their consumers on a one-on-one basis if they want to sell all of their wine. And they're just not very good at doing that. They look at spending a few $1,000s on a social media campaign and they say, well, geez, how many barrels could we buy for that? How many more hours could we put into the field? And it's really difficult for them to make that calculus.
We know that this year the millennials are going to cross the baby boomers as the largest single market. Mm-hmm. Do wineries know enough about millennials today to help improve their sales, or are they in for a shock?
I think if wineries are expecting the millennials to be just like their baby boomer parents, they've got a nasty surprise coming. I think what we're seeing with millennials, which still don't have very much money, as big a generation as they are, they don't have the spending power nearly of the baby boomers or of Generation X or of Generation Y. They're just not old enough to be making that money in their careers, but their interests in wine and in alcohol in general is much more varied, much more diverse, much more curious than the generations before them. And so that means they're going to be not necessarily focusing on the traditional, suppliers of wine flavor, the California big brands of Napa and Sonoma, but they're going to be looking all over the world, and they're going to be looking at things other than wine, cannabis, cocktails, alternative spirits, and the competition in all those areas is just getting fiercer and fiercer.
Okay, one last question. I was reading about people that were interviewing or questioning younger people about their knowledge in wine, and it seems that people that were, say, 26-year-old know less today than 26-year-olds did 3 years ago about wine.
I haven't necessarily heard or experienced the idea that millennials are much less informed than maybe people just slightly older than them when it comes to wine and spirits. I do know that their information consumption habits are squarely digitally native in a way that very few generations have been before, right? These are people that have grown up with supercomputers in their pockets and with Google being able to answer any question they ever had. And so the way that they learn is very different than the way that, say, I learned coming up. When I grew up and started learning about wine, it was the Wine Spectator and Robert Parker and Stephen Tanzer, and that was basically it. This Lady Jancis over in the UK maybe, but as an American, we were like, who's that? Who is this lady? But now you just Google anything and you find reviews from blogs like mine, you find Twitter streams from winemakers, Instagram posts from influencers, and there's just this soup of information that you can burrow through using Google and other things like that.
Okay, if I put you in charge of a winery today, in charge of marketing or the direction they would go, what would you do? What would be the first thing you would do?
How big is the winery that I'm in charge of?
Say, let's talk about a small winery, maybe 15,000 case winery. How would you help them get their story out?
If I was a 15,000 case winery today, I would first be super clear on what my brand story was. Like, what is it authentically unique about what I'm doing? Place I'm at, the people that are making the wine, or something like that. And then I would try and figure out where does that story intersect with things that consumers care about. And I would seek out those consumers and the places that those consumers hang out, and I would try and be there and build relationships. At the end of the day, a 15,000 case winery is going to have to sell a large part of their production every year directly to individuals. And so you need to start building relationships with those individuals.